Hi, I'm Paul.
And I'm Hazel.
And welcome to Skip the Rulebook, the show that gives the rulebook the red card and hands you a season ticket for your new game.
Today we're taking to the pitch in the football game. In this game you become the manager of a unique team of footballers, all trying to impress their fans by making their way up the table. You must pick your squad, deal with injuries and probably win the odd game or two if you're to go on to glory.
They think it's all over. Well, it's not. Let's skip the rulebook. Not going to need this. The first thing you'll find in the box are the club mats. These are the player boards on which you will keep track of the different aspects of your football club, including your current squad and any horrific injuries. The league table will allow you to keep track of your club's progress and how many games there are left till the end of the season. In a football game, each player's aims and starting points are not always the same. If you're playing as a low-end club, you're not going to be expected to become champions in one season. The victory points map will allow you to work out how well you're doing for a club of your size, with bigger teams needing more impressive results to win than the more lowly ones.
Each team will be led by a manager, whose reputation and skill not only determine your starting wealth, but also the type of tactics that you can employ throughout the game. The mainstay of the game is the footballers, as choosing the right squad is the key to victory.
The football matches themselves are represented by the six-sided match dice. The event, injury and knock dice, referred to as the Ike dice, are how you will simulate the drama of a game both on and off the pitch by causing tabloid intrigue and player injuries. Injuries and events take a number of forms. When these inevitably happen to your team, the details of each one will be determined by an injury or events card. The other set of cards available are how your manager will influence things from the stands. By playing the right tactics card at the right time, you can prevent a player injury, inspire a player to score, or even nobble your opponent's star striker.
No game about football will be complete without the large amount of money spent on the player's skilled left foot. The various other tokens allow you to keep track of things such as your points, your league position and your player form, and other elements throughout the game.
Although football's supposed to be a nice friendly game, injuries do happen. The injury die will represent your physios trying to get your players match fit again. Each player will have subtly different aims. The chairman's briefing cards, as well as the reference cards, are a simple way of keeping track of what you can do and what you should be striving for each turn. Finally, we need to bring back the box. The football game is the first one we've played where the box forms an actual game component. Inside you'll find a superb graphic of a stadium in which all matches, and consequently dice rolls, should take place.
In the football game, you have a choice between a quick game, which is only 4 rounds, and a standard length game, which is 6 rounds. You should place the league table in the centre of the play area, with a side up corresponding to your chosen game length. Then, place the round marker on round 1. Each player then chooses a club mat and their matching club marker. Place your club marker on the mid-table section of the league table.
Shuffle the footballer cards and then deal 7 to each player. Place the remaining deck face down next to the league. Each player should now go through their hand and check that they have at least 1 defender, 1 midfielder and 1 attacker, identified by the text on the left of the card. If you're missing one of these, you must discard 1 card from your hand and then draw from the deck until you find one that matches your missing position.
Each footballer has an ability value indicated by the top left-hand corner of their card. Each player should then add up their footballer's abilities to determine their squad strength and thus their club class. Mine adds up to 18, so I am class B. Once you know your club class, take the chairman's briefing card that matches your class. This card explains the expectations and scoring conditions that match your class. This card may seem a little busy right now, so we'll explain it bit by bit as we go.
Next, shuffle the manager's deck and deal 2 cards to each player. Place the remaining deck face down next to the footballers. Each player will need to decide which of the managers will be leading their club and discard the other. There are several important pieces of information on these cards that will help you decide. The budget is how much money you will start with, and the tactics rating will give you access to game-altering cards. Suffice to say, the higher the number the better for both of these. Each manager also has a special ability on the bottom, the effects of which is written on the card in full. Once you've made your choice, place your chosen manager face up in the manager slot of your club mat. Then discard the other. Each player then gains money equal to the manager's budget, indicated by the number on the right.
Thank you.
Each player will also gain tactics cards equal to their manager's tactics rating, plus or minus the number on your club class card. So I will gain 7.
And I gain 6 plus 2, so 8, please. Thank you. Next, we create our transfer market by drawing 5 footballers from the top of the deck and placing them where all players can see them. Then, shuffle the event and injury decks and place them next to the league. Finally, pass the starting trophy to the player with the highest squad score. Thank you. If there is a tie, both players should roll the injury die with the highest roll going first.
The aim of the football game is to gain victory points by achieving a higher position in the league. Moving up or down the table is dictated by the performance of your players. Unsurprisingly, the more they score, the better you do. The game is broken into a number of rounds determined by your chosen game length. In a round, each player will take a turn as the active player. As Hazel has the starting trophy, she will get the first turn of the first round.
Each turn is broken into 2 phases, the pre-match when we organise our squad, and match day when the matches take place.
Each turn starts with all players choosing our squads. The 4 squad slots at the top of your club mat indicate the footballers that will be taking part in this week's match. You must choose 4 footballers from your squad to occupy these slots. Each slot tells you at the bottom the corresponding type of player that may be placed there. Once you've chosen your squad, you then place the remaining players onto your substitutes bench.
Next, there are a couple of compulsory actions that have to be done by the active player. These related to the injured and unavailable slots on the club map. As I have none of these at the moment, we can skip this step for now. The active player can also do a number of optional actions. This turn, I'm going to begin by purchasing a player from the transfer market. To do this, I need to pay their purchase value, which is shown on the cards at the bottom in the gold triangle. I need to pay 8 million for the midfield giant to the bank. The transfer market does not get replenished, so next time round there are only 4 players available for purchase. You can perform each action as many times as you like, but unfortunately I am almost out of money, so I'm going to stop there for now. Once the active player is happy with their squad, and I'm going to make a quick change, they need to confirm that the other players are also happy with their first team. What's that? Good. Pre-match is then over and match day begins. To do this, you need to take the match dice and the Ike dice and roll them simultaneously. The match dice determine the outcome of the games played this week and affect all players. Since I rolled a black and a red, this means that both my midfielder and my attacker have scored. I must now add up the values for each of these players to give me my total match score, which in this case is 5.
All players take part in match day, so in my squad, these 3 players have scored, giving me a total of 9.
Once all players calculate their match scores, we must now find out how that affects the league. The symbols on top of the league table indicate how your score will affect your club. As I scored only 5, I fall into this category and will therefore move down by 1 space.
Luckily, I fared a little better with 9, so I fall into this category, which means for now my club marker stays where it is.
With the results complete, we now move on to the Outtakes dice. The symbols on these come in 3 types: event, injury and knock. We must resolve them in this order, so in this case, I need to resolve an event. To do this, I'm going to draw a card from the top of the event deck. The number on the die will potentially change the effect of the card. In this case, it means that player number 3 will gain a good form marker. These markers indicate that your footballer is doing particularly well this week. In effect, they increase that footballer's ability value while the marker remains with him. So, in subsequent games, this player will score an additional point. This means that this guy is now worth 4 points. It is possible to gain more than one good form marker and thus increase your footballer's ability value. You can also gain poor form markers, which work in the same way but carry a negative value. My second night dice is sadly not as fortunate for me. The injury dice indicates that something has gone badly for one of my players. To resolve this, I need to draw an injury card from the top of the deck and apply this to the footballer who matches the slot number given on the dice, in this case number 2. This means that my midfielder has a broken collarbone. I'm going to remove him from my first team and put him into the injury slot with the injury card on top. With our first match over, we end the turn. Any player who has no tactic cards may draw one, and play moves to the next player clockwise.
Since I have no injuries or unavailable footballers at present, I can skip the compulsory actions for this turn. I would, however, like to buy a footballer. Unfortunately, the transfer market's looking a little bit slim at present. So for my first action, I'm going to scout. To do this, you pay 1 million to the bank. You may then discard the current transfer market and then draw 5 new cards. I do quite like the look of this sublime striker. Unfortunately, he costs 13 million, that's more than I have at present. Luckily, I do have an option. I can sell one of my players for my second action. The sale value of a player is in the bottom left corner in the silver triangle, so I can sell this workhorse wingback for 5 million. I discard the player and then gain cash from the bank equal to his sale value. I'm also going to choose to sell this Calamity Keeper, so I get an additional 2. If the player had any form markers, then you'd gain an additional 1 million per good form and 1 million less for a poor form marker. Now I have more than the 13 million I need, I can buy my striker. I must now confirm that all players' teams are set. If you can field a team of 4 footballers, you must do so. You can't voluntarily play a match with a team that's less than full strength. So since Hazel acquired an injury last turn, she will now have to fill the void with one of her substitutes. Once all teams have been confirmed, all players, beginning with the active player, can choose to play one of their tactics cards. Tactics cards carry a graphic on them which indicates when they can be used. So this turn I'm going to begin by playing this Disciplined Defending card, as it carries the pre-match graphic. This card can be played on one of my blue players and means that if they score during the next match day, they will score an additional time. Each player may choose to play as many tactics cards as they like, so I'm going to play another one. This one's called Bites Your Legs. This card has an additional colour to its border. The target indicator means that I must choose one footballer for this card to affect, but that footballer may be on an opponent's team. So I'm going to play this on Hazel's Pacey Poacher. If that player fails to score in the match day, then he will receive a knock result, as if it had been rolled on a die.
Well, I'm not playing any this turn.
Each player now also has the option of using their manager special ability. These two carry a graphic that indicate whether they can be used in pre-match or on match day. I'm going to choose to use mine now, as it will allow me to add a good form marker to one of my attackers. This ability also carries this graphic. This means it can only be used once per half season. I must now place a half-season marker on it to remind me that it's been used. With the pre-match finished, we move to match day. This awesome result means not only do I gain 7 points for these two, but my Sublime Striker also scores. Since he has an ability of 4 and a good form marker, he's currently worth 5. The Disciplined Defending card means he scores twice, giving me a total of 10 for him, so my overall match score is 17.
I scored 10 in total for these 3 players.
Once players have calculated their initial match score, we now have the opportunity to play Match Day Tactics cards. I'm going to choose to play Team Chemistry. This means that I gain +1 point per scoring player, which takes my total up to an epic 20.
I won't play any cards this turn, but I do need to resolve this pre-match card against this player. As he didn't actually score, I do get a knock. This simply means that I'm going to move him to my unavailable slot on my club mat. If the conditions for a card are not met, then you simply discard the card.
Now we work out how this affects our table positions. Since I got 20, I move up 3 spaces.
As I got 10, I move up 1 space.
I must now resolve my Ike dice. I'll begin with the injury. This 3 means that annoyingly it will affect my awesome striker. Since he's got a twisted knee, I must now move him to the injury slot on my club mat and place the card on top. Whenever a player is injured, they lose all 4 markers. This green circle on the other die means that the footballer in slot 1 has gained a knock. This footballer will need to be moved to the unavailable slot on the club mat. With my turn as active player complete, the round is over. The round tracker is moved up 1 space, and the new round begins with the starting player.
My next turn would be much like the last one, only now I have injured and knocked players to deal with. I must do the compulsory actions, and these are only completed by the active player. First, I'm going to deal with my knocked player. I can move him from the unavailable slot back into the substitutes bench, and he can then be put back into my first team. Next, I need to resolve my injury. To do this, I'm going to roll the injury die. The severity of the injury is indicated by the number on the top of the card. If I roll a number that's equal to or greater than the value on the card, then I can discard the card and return the player to the substitute bench. If, however, I roll a number that's lower, then I add a clip onto my card. In subsequent turns, this clip adds 1 to the dice roll for the footballer.
The game continues in this way until we end a round in which the round tracker moves past a point symbol. In a standard game, this occurs on rounds 2, 4 and 6, while in a quick game, this occurs at the end of round 2, 3 and 4. When scoring victory points, you should consult either your chairman's briefing card or the victory point mat. Since all teams started off with a different team value, each team will score a different amount of points depending on their league position. Start by finding the column that matches your round, in this case 2. Then find your position in the table, so for me it would be top 6. This tells me that since I'm Class C, I score 6 victory points. I take points tokens equal to that value and hold on to them till the end of the game.
When your round marker passes the half-season mark, there are a few extra things that you get to do. First, you can discard the half-season marker from your manager's card, and you can then use their special actions again. Then, you can discard all the cards from the transfer market and draw 5 new footballers. Players then gain millions equal to their manager's budget and can draw tactic cards equal to their manager's tactic rating.
The game continues until you hit the end of the season. At this point, players can trade in their cash for victory points. You get 1 point per 10 million. If any player has less than 7 footballers, you also lose 2 victory points per footballer less than 7. So, since I currently only have 6, I would lose 2 victory points. Once all players have completed their final victory point tally, the player with the most points is the winner. One action that we haven't mentioned that can be used during the pre-match is called Sack Manager. This only occurs if your team has fallen so far down the table that you are at or below the symbol matching your club class. When this happens, you may choose to discard your manager as an action. You must also discard your hand of tactics cards. You may then remove any 3 form markers, good or bad. Draw 2 new managers, choose one, discard the other. You gain tactics cards equal to that new manager's tactics rating, but you don't gain their budget. You may only use this action once per game, so once you've done it, take a sacked token to remind you that you can't use it again this game. The other action you have the option of using is to redraw tactics. If the active player has a hand of 4 or less tactics cards, they may choose to discard all of them. If you do this, you may draw a new hand equal to the number you discarded plus 1. So if you discarded 4 cards, you can draw 5.
There are a couple of icons on the league table we've not yet mentioned. The arrows on the top and bottom 3 positions alter how easy it is to move up and down the table. If you're in the top 3, once you've worked out your category, you must move yourself a number of spaces left indicated on the arrow. For example, if I was in the top 6 and gained a match score of 6, I would first work out my category to be the yellow one. The arrow forces me to move left by 1, so I'd end up in the orange category. This means I'm moving down the league table by 1 space.
The final thing to mention is the 2-player variant. If you choose to use this rule set, and the game is played over 12 rounds, you make your way through rounds 1 to 6 on the standard league table twice. Scoring is done at the end of rounds 4, 8 and 12, and half season occurs at the end of round 6. There's also a slight addition to the knock rule. Whenever any player is placed into the unavailable slot on your club mat, they're placed face down. During the compulsory action of your turn, any face down player in the unavailable slot is turned face up. Any player that was already face up is returned to the substitutes bench. That's it from us to Skip the Rulebook. If you found this video useful, please press like. If you want to hear more from Skip the Rulebook, press subscribe. You can also find out more about us on Facebook, Twitter and skiptherulebook.com.
Join us next time for your chance to jump into that new game of yours without having to do any of that tedious rule reading.
See you later. In the football game.
What happens?
Just in it.
What happens?
No! Just gonna hover. And what you should. Then you should discard 1 card from your hand and then draw. Oh, that's annoying.
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying it for no reason.
Each player then gains money equal to the manager's budget.
I don't know what to do with my hand. Damn it. Once a
Sorry, I was
place.
pulling a weird face.
What was the face?
1 million?
No, that's my focus now.
Nope.